Hey guys, here today for a deck tech for Colorless, Eldrazi, and Legacy. Let's go and take a look at the deck. Alright, so as you can see, this deck has approximately 47 mana sources and 13 actual spells.
I mean, that's pretty true, but when your cards are so powerful, you don't really need more of them, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this deck just dominate Modern, and this version is the Legacy version that is very similar to some things we've seen in Legacy before, but a little bit different now that we have a lot of new tools out of Oath of the Gatewatch. So let's just start with the mana, because I think the mana is actually the most important part. So these new 2 mana lands for just the Eldrazi, Ayavugan and Eldrazi Temple, I think both add a lot to Legacy because they allow you to play these gigantic threats for very little mana when combined with both City of Traders and Ancient Tomb.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable that at the last Pro Tour at Oath of the Gatewatch, that 8 soul lands were in Modern, and you're just like, oh, this, like, we knew it existed, but these Simian Spirit Guides helped out, or like had these other creatures. But then it still didn't dawn on me that you could just play it in Legacy and get 8 more.
Yeah, that was actually one of the first few things I said. I was like, man, maybe this deck's busted in Legacy. You know, you get all these 2 mana lands, City of Traders, Ancient Tomb, to play Chalice on turn 1, because Chalice was like such a blowout card with the Simian Spirit Guide in the Modern Pro Tour. And, you know, it is just as good, if not better, in Legacy, especially when you can cast on turn 1 a ton.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's going to happen so often, and the other great thing about this deck and its Mox Diamonds is you're looking for the super early explosive draws, and decks like this, this is a Colorless Eldrazi, it's a beatdown deck, but decks like this have existed in Legacy, and they're also just denial decks with Trinispheres and Chalice, like decks like Mud. But Mud didn't have Eldrazi Smasher or Thought Not Seer, or even Endless One, where you can just dump all your mana into it.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen variations on this style of deck. X Stompy, like there was Dragon Stompy, and then some dude made Werewolf Stompy, and same dude also who played Werewolf Stompy with.
Wasn't that a vintage deck?
Maybe, but I remember there was I forget the creature's name, but it was the 1/5 that turned into a 5/5.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Handwear Watchkeep, I think maybe. Yeah. I think it was John Johnson played that, but I saw he won a 1K Legacy event recently with something pretty close to this. So yeah, the creature base very similar to the Modern creature base, just all the new Eldrazi from Battle for Zendikar and a few from what's it called? Oath of the Gatewatch and Battle for Zendikar, along with the 7 Eldrazi lands. 3 Dismember. As you can see, the core looks very similar to the Modern deck. 1 Endbringer, which I think is going to be very good in Legacy. There are a ton of creatures that have 1 toughness that are important, and drawing cards is usually pretty sweet. And a 5/5 body is bigger than Lightning Bolt, which is pretty huge.
Yeah, it's also funny. It's just like show and tell by Griselbrand. It's like, all right, can't tech.
Yeah.
Can't block.
Yeah,
can't tech.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Following it up, we have 1 copy of Umezawa's Jite as just something extra to do on your Reality Smashers, your gigantic guys. I actually wouldn't mind a second one of these. I'm not sure over what. It's possible we don't need Trinisphere and Chalice of the Void main deck. What?
There you go.
Yeah,
you got one on your board.
we have the second one. We're getting to that. 2 Grim Monolith to continue the giant mana ramp early, and then 4 Chalice of the Void to lock out everything from combo decks to Swords to Plowshares from most decks in Legacy. So
yeah, there's so many ways in this deck to get a turn 2 Reality Smasher, and even like turn 3. Turn 2 you could get it with Cavern backup, but this is the big card for the deck in Legacy, because Daze and Force Will are the ways that decks like Delver or anything faster, even combo decks, are trying to keep aggressive strategies down in the early turns, and a deck that can play 4 Caverner Souls is absurd.
Yeah, when I first realized that I could play 4 Cavern in this version, and it'd be great, just because Force of Will, like being able to go, Mox Diamond, Cavern of Souls, 2 mana land, Thought Not Seer just feels dirty.
Yeah, and the last thing I have to say about this deck is I have no idea how it's going to interact with this format. I mean, it's definitely going to be powerful. I don't know if the format's going to adjust because it is such a powerful format, but in Modern, this deck's like, like first rule is to mulligan 7s that don't have a 2-mana land.
Yeah.
And it's almost impossible in this deck. Like, it's not impossible, but there's 15 of them.
Yeah, and we could play the full 16, and it is likely that we should be playing 4 and 4 Mox Diamond.
I don't know
because
about that.
They actually pair pretty well together because you get to discard extras to the Mox Diamond.
Yeah, this deck isn't really designed to double creature a lot, where that's the advantage of I.
Sure.
So if you add both of these, you're adding inconsistencies. Like, I mean, I definitely believe that you want all 4 of these in Modern, but I mean,
yeah, we do.
We've got all
I
of this.
actually even consider cutting 1 City of Traders just because I don't want to have too many awkward draws where I have to either sacrifice one of my lands or
I think you're gonna have
2 copies
issues.
of Ivugan.
I don't see issues happening with, like, we're not trying to get to like 8 mana or anything. Like, we don't really have to get past 5.
What if I want to play an 8/8 Endbringer?
Or Endless one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Because Endbringer.
Yeah, I get it. I actually have the Brad disease today, where I just say all the cards incorrectly. All right, guys. Well, that's the main deck for Colorless Eldrazi, a.k.a. Tentacle Stompy.
I love that name.
All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the sideboard. All right, so as you can see, the sideboard is all colorless cards because that is what our deck is, except, honorary colorless card.
Yeah.
When it's in your hand, you don't actually have to pay mana for its ability, which is kind of great. And that's actually kind of why I like it. I was thinking about playing something like Tormod's Crypt to get the whole graveyard, but I kind of want something that I can play on turn 1 on my turn. On my opponent's turn 1 before I even have a turn, in case they try to Goryo's Vengeance me on turn 1.
Yeah, we don't have Force of Wills. Like, that's very important because we don't have Force of Wills, so, like, our worst matchup, Belcher, can really take advantage of it. But, like, other decks can turn 1 Gristlebrand off Lotus Petals, like Reanimator, and that's, like, really nice to have at least something that can interact on their turn, on turn 0. Yeah.
I mean, it's similar to something like Mind Break Trap, which I also wouldn't mind, honestly. There's a lot of ways you can go with the sideboard. Legacy is flush with all these options of things you can play. Pith and Needle, I think, might need to be Fire Exceeding Revoker. This was, I think, Jerry's list from a week or 2 ago, and since then, a lot of people have actually been talking about the deck, and there have been a few minor changes that have been made, and I think Revoker may be better than Pith and Needle overall just because you have Chalice of the Void in your own deck, and I would like to bring in Revoker against something like a Sneak Attack deck where I also want my Chalice of the Voids. 3 Thorn of Amethyst to go with all of the Trinispheres and Chalice of the Voids and stuff in the main. 3 Warping Well. There are so many creatures in this format that have 1 toughness or 1 power that are very good. In fact, most of them, I think, except Tarmogoyf, like Deathrite Shaman, Stoneforge Mystic,
yeah, but
even
I don't think
Vidalian Click.
I mean, that card, yes, and that will be a card that you bring in this matchup because every creature in my deck, I think, besides my Mirror Crusaders, actually get hit by it.
Yeah.
But the thing about Warping Well is that it plays really well with like anti-Liliana if there's decks with Liliana, but also it's a good counterspell against like the tough cards to deal with, like Show and Tell or Reanimate and stuff like that. Like we want a counterspell that can deal with the degenerate cards, and most of them are sorceries. And so it's just really nice. But I also think that all 3 modes on this card are better in Legacy than any other format, which is really cool because they all have really interesting and dynamic attacks on the format.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to a card like Liliana the Veil, where in Standard it was like not very impressive.
Yeah.
Just because there were so many little cards that people played, like Doom Traveler, like the whole Junk Aristocrats deck was a deck back then.
Yeah.
And so cards like Liliana didn't really have a chance to shine because everyone wanted to play these sticky creatures that when they died, like something happened. But the further you go back, when you go to Modern, when you go to Legacy, you have all these creatures that cost very little mana, but they're all super important. Like whenever a deck or whenever a format gets older, every card in the deck is going to be that much more powerful.
Yep.
And when you have a card like Warping Well that's going to just interact on multiple levels across the format, it's going to counter all the sorceries. It's going to hit Terminus. It's going to hit Show and Tell. It's going to hit Exhume / Reanimate. And then also kills all the utility creatures. Like a card like this actually, it might even be main deckable.
Yeah, I think the card is very good. We probably should have put it in the main.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? We're learning today. This is a learning experience. Second Endbringer, which is gonna wreck Brad. 2 Grafdigger's Cage, which probably should be Tormod's Crypts, and second Umzo's GT.
No, it's Elf.
Yeah, I guess.
You probably need something against elves.
It's more Chalice of the Void stuff. You just gotta play cards that don't get hit with your own cards.
That is true, but I definitely think that you need some more anti-elf tech, I'm guessing.
Ratchet Bomb. Should have played Ratchet Bomb.
Yeah, GT doesn't really have a high impact against elves.
What?
I mean, it's good.
I have
But
Reality Smasher. I can trample.
that. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's insane.
All right, guys. Well, that's the sideboard for the Colorless Eldrazi deck. I guess let's go ahead and get to the matches. This is going to be fun.
I'm not looking forward to it. I mean, I'm looking forward to the playing Magic, but I'm not looking forward to just getting 5-0 by Todd.
I'm looking forward to you Flicker Wisting my Endless One.
Now I'm going to Ratchet Bomb that.
Wow, okay. That's fine. All right, guys. Stay tuned.